Okay, hi, morning everyone. Eugene from National Heart Center. I'm a medical social worker here. And over the next 20 minutes, I'll be sharing more about, talk about, these are the contents I'll be sharing: recognizing, acknowledging, and tips. So I know some of us came here for strategies on how do we manage stress. And the reason that the talk is actually structured in this way is because this is also a form of grounding for us in terms of, recognizing the stress and acknowledging the stress. So I give you an example, when I have seen patients who, like Dr. Chong has referred about the broken heart, first one is really recognizing stress, that really, are you aware that you are in stress? Sometimes I've also seen people who tell me, hey, I recognize I'm in stress, but I don't believe I'm in stress. Then that one, cannot help, she don't even believe he's in stress. So that's how the grounding starts. Like, first one is recognizing the signs and symptoms that you might be in stress. Second is also recognizing, okay, I'm in stress. Now, it doesn't stop there, grounding. It just doesn't mean I recognize, acknowledge I'm in stress. Then the next one is, what are you going to do about the stress? Or I'm going to do the same thing again. Then you'll be perpetually stuck in the stressful situation. So that's where the third part comes in, about the tips for living with stress. So putting all together, the grounding part is really like recognizing the signs and the symptoms that you're experiencing within yourself, acknowledging whatever emotions or whatever reactions you're having in your body. And then last one then is really taking the action to go ahead and either mitigate the situation or do something different. Okay, so I think this one will be something similar to what Dr. Chong has said about recognizing the signs of stress. I believe every one of us here has been through stressful situations in our life. I mean, growing up, PSLE could be a stressful situation. Getting married is also a stressful situation. Yeah. Therefore, some being a grandparent is also a stressful situation. You have to take care of your kid, then the kid got the grandson, then the grandchildren also come to your house now, then you become the second parent all over again. So in short, all of us have been through stressful situations in the past, and really recognizing some of the signs of stress. What could be my sign of stress could be different from some of us here. For instance, my sign of stress is I will get very irritable if people keep coming to find me. Then I'll give very short and curt reply. For some of us, our stressful should be, body ache, there's a headache, I feel pain everywhere. Okay, so these are some of the different signs of stress which I will not spend so much time inside because they have been covered earlier. And I think in short, some of the stressors can just go into four main domains, which is your physical side. Some of us feel the aches, as I was sharing earlier. Some of us also couldn't, sleep properly at night. These are also physical signs of stress. Some have headaches also, so etc., etc. Next part will be the psychological signs of stress, where earlier some of the speakers have shared, we tend to think a lot, think, like maybe how to make more money. That could be one. Or sometimes also, what should I do with this project? What I have this problem, what do I do? So these are some of the psychological signs of stress. And for behavioral, as I was sharing, my own response is I'll be very curt, very irritable. So that's the behavioral side. Some of us who are stressed may also go into what we call withdrawal. We tend to keep more to ourselves. We don't want to share more. And these are some of the signs that someone could be under stress. And last one, it's about emotional. Someone who is very stressed could also have low energy, or someone could be very quick to anger, to get frustrated easily as well. Okay, so these are your four different domains of how stress may show up in your life. Each of us can have different ways of how stress comes about, how it shows up. Okay, so this one is just mirroring what Dr. Chong said. The long-term stress actually does affect our health. Okay, so I see people taking pictures. One. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, gone. Next one. Okay, so coming back to acknowledging stress. So, as a social worker, people often ask me, hey, how do you survive 15 years as a social worker? Your job not stressful, man. You hear people problems all the time. Yeah, I see laughter. Okay, so here's what I think about stress. Honestly, stress, it's like friends like that. Got good friends, got bad friends, Hao you and Sun you. So for myself, stress comes in acknowledging it in two forms. One is that on one hand, stress is good. Example, it's like, gearing you up for the next stage of your life, gearing up for your next challenge. So for those of us who are still working, stress probably comes from the projects or assignments you are doing. And the stress you're feeling is because this stress is also setting you up for your next advancement in your career, next advancement in your job. For those of us who are a family, stress comes from maybe having kids, being a grandparent. The stress you're experiencing also sets you up for your next stage in your life as you graduate from being a single to a parent now, taking care of another human being, or even from a parent to a grandparent now that your family has expanded, you have more things to look after. And I think this is where the stress can also be seen as being good because it really sets you up for success in the next stage. Okay, but of course there are bad stress, which is also means that overly stressed, it can also lead to effects on your health. And in short, I think there's this psychological that says that there's a difference between a good stress and bad stress. The only difference is that, we still need some stress in our life. So the key in recognizing us is that how much stress can we tolerate? Yeah. And this one actually brings to mind about questions about how much one stress can tahan, or one person can tahan so much stress in life. It really depends from people to people. So what I always tell someone is that just because you've been through a very tough situation doesn't mean another person in the same scenario can also react the same way as you do, because we're all different. So what can be stressful for you may not be so stressful for another person. And conversely, what could be stressful for another person may not be stressful for you. So for instance, one of my patients was telling me, being a grandparent, damn stressful for me, it brings back flashback memories of how I take care of my kid. I do go and scream after my kid, run after my kid. It's very stressful for me. I don't want to do that. But yet for another grandparent, being a grandparent for my kid is not so stressful. I always look forward to my child, having my own grandchildren. So I don't find it stressful at all. So again, we can be the same scenario, but how we experience each situation in life can be very different from person to person. Okay, so this was actually a nice picture that I liked, where the donkey is actually up in the air and there's a cargo behind. Yeah, so this one is where, stress overwhelms you. And why I like this picture is because you can see the load is very high. And sometimes I actually tell people, when your load is very high, it's just that it's time to, how do you make the donkey come down? Unload, right? And in Chinese term, they say 放下. Means you cannot keep holding anymore. So some of the things that I tell the people that I work with, it's like, when you are stressed over something, it's just that you holding on to something in your hand. It could be memories of your loved ones, memories of things that you used to do. You hold it in your fist all the time, you clench it all the way. You all can experience it. Then the longer you clench, the longer you try to hold on to things, what happens to your hand? I hear tired, painful. And that's where it's really time to really let go, where maybe things have changed. Whatever that you are doing no longer works for you in your current season of your life. So one of the tips is really accept things that maybe is really out of your control, that you can't change. As the Chinese say, 放下, it's time to let go, time to move on already. Okay, so these are the tips for living with stress. There are 4 different sides, 4 different domains. Let's start with the base first, which is physical, something that Kelvin has covered. Some parts of it, like getting exercise, having enough sleep, and things that you can really do to keep yourself occupied and to manage the stress. At the emotional level, it's really having someone to talk to, having your close support. And for the sake of this presentation, I'll be focusing on these 2, which is the mental and spiritual side. Okay, because the things that physical and emotional, I believe some of us here have already been doing at one point in our life or another. Like some of us likes to go to shopping mall to walk. Yeah, then of course that creates another form of stress to whoever that's paying for the whatever purchases. Okay, but some of us also are into sports. Like, pickleball is now the craze, right? Some of us also go walking and go meeting up with friends at the coffee shop for emotional support. So these are things that all of us are really doing at some point or another. Okay, so what Kelvin has said earlier about mental and mindfulness is really being grounded, as I was saying. It's really focusing your thoughts to deal with any anxiety or the many thoughts that are running through your mind. Meditation is one, as was covered earlier, one way is to help to calm the mind down. Okay, so this is some of the benefits of mindfulness, which is really increasing your focus, experiencing the moment, and also regulating the emotions. Okay, so as a social worker, just now I was sharing, I get a lot of tips. Hey, how do you cope with all the stressful? You hear 15 years or all the negativity. I'm telling you, it can get stressful. Okay, so I would be lying if I tell you, oh, my job not stressful. It's all roses and everything. So one thing that I use to calm myself down, which we can do together now, this is some of the simple techniques I use to ground myself before going on to the next task. So the first one is actually 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's the technique. You can search it out. So the 5 things you can see. So, like standing here, 5 things you can see, maybe handphones, the clock, projector, the walls, and the lights. Okay, so that's one thing you can calm yourself down. 4 things you can feel now. Maybe the watch that I'm wearing on my hand, the soles of my feet on the ground, my hand on the mic, and the last one, the specs on my face. So these are the 4 things I can feel now. 3 things you can hear. The ring of someone's handphone just now, that's one. My own voice being projected through the microphone. Okay, and also my own breathing as well I can hear. So these are 3 things you can hear. 2 things you can smell here. Maybe the coffee that I had earlier, and the scent of the air here. Okay, and last one, something you can taste. Maybe the coffee tasted earlier. So this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it's something that you can try doing your own time to ground yourself, especially when you feel that overwhelmed by thoughts and anxiety. Okay, so coming back also about next part about, dealing with stress doesn't have to be just one person's problem. You can also be a useful resource for others. And how you can help others, it's through spending time with them, allowing them to talk about their experience, yet at the same time also respecting their boundaries. Okay, and also encouragement and show appreciation for whatever the person has done. So one thing that I always found that's not helpful, right, is that, people tell you, don't be stressed, don't worry. What will happen? The person will worry more. Yeah. Okay, just like, I'm telling you, everyone, don't think of the pink elephant. Now everyone is just thinking of pink elephant already. So that's how I feel that, if you want to help, just allow them to share whatever, and just affirm them and acknowledge whatever that they're going through in their life, and offer practical support if there's needed. Yeah. Okay, this is where the last part I come to is actually spirituality. And what this means is actually, I feel it's linked to our meaning and purpose. So in short, earlier I was sharing how an event that can be stressful can be not so stressful for another. That's because it's also aligned with our purpose in life. This reminds me of one patient who I saw in the ward. He was actually a director of, I think, a few companies. Money is not an issue to him. But yet our poor guy is still very stressed out. And I actually asked him, uncle, you a lot of money, you have a few millions, why so stressed about money? Yeah. So that's what he was telling me. And his reply was actually to say that, yeah, I have a lot of money, but every night I'm very worried that someone will come and take my company away. So, and I think that's one. The other one, he was also sharing about how he has so much money, yet he's also still all alone in his life. He may be living in a penthouse, but he's single, and he's very... And I think as his own words was, money cannot buy company. Yeah, yet at the same time, I also have another patient who is not really a very high income earner, yet he's still living life every way happily. And same thing, I also asked him, hey, uncle, why are you so happy? Someone in your situation might actually be very depressed. And he was actually telling me, I'm depressed, what? I have everything I wanted. I have my family with me, I have my children, I can do the things I like. That's enough already. That's a good life for me already. Yeah, life can be stressful, but I let it it's okay, I have really contented with life. So I think the point I'm trying to make here is also that at the end of the day, what is a good life to you all? What's a good life to everyone here? Does really having more money means you'll be less stressed? Maybe, or maybe not, I also don't know. But I think, as I said, all the stress actually comes at a level where too much of the good thing can be bad as well. It's really finding the middle part of how much is enough for pursuing the life that we want to pursue. Okay, and I think I'd like to end with this quote, like, life can be stressful as I was sharing earlier, but amidst with all the stress, right, it's then about how do we respond to the stresses in our life. Yeah, I mean, after leaving this talk, some of us could be rushing to go back to spend time with family, to rush to cook dinner, rush to go out shopping, rush to meet projects because it's the weekend, or even rush to go exercise. But at the end of the day, with all the stresses in our life, then it's how do we react to the life? How do we cope and adjust to the life? And I'm saying to some of my patients, I cannot change the fact that you have heart issues, and nothing I can do to change that. But what you can change for yourself is that with the heart issues and everything that you have, how are you still going to lead the life that you want to lead in order to feel fulfilled? Okay, so ending with that, I should end my presentation for today.